Hello, my little Red Riding Hoods, SpongeX here. Today, I want to talk about a very underrated anime adaptation of a book called Lonely Castle in the Mirror. So, I just saw this movie on HBO Max a few weeks ago, and I really enjoyed this movie. I ended up ordering a Blu ray copy, and I was curious and looked this up on Rotten Tomatoes. I wanted to see how others thought of this movie, and I was horrified to see it has a 50% Rotten score. How? Just how? How was this considered a bad film? This is such an emotional and well animated film. Luckily, audiences liked it a lot better. They gave it a 90% review score. All the YouTube reviews I've seen of it were very favorable, so why did critics hate this? So, before going into this film, it helps if you're familiar with the story of the Wolf and the Seven Goats. So, this old fairy tale plays a pretty huge role into this story. So, if you don't know the story, it won't ruin the movie for you. You can still enjoy it without it, but knowing it ahead of time does make the mystery of the film more enjoyable. It gives it kind of a better payoff. I'll admit, the movie is not perfect. It does leave a lot of questions unanswered. There are a few plot holes, but if you ignore them, it's a pretty pleasant experience. So, the movie opens up with a girl named Kokoro. She's avoiding school because she's being bullied badly by a brat who is making her life a living hell. All because Kokoro likes the boy that her bully is dating. Kokoro feels even more depressed because she found a friend in the form of a transfer student, but her bully ends up taking Kokoro's new friend away, leaving Kokoro lonely. So Kokoro ends up getting a new teacher who's here to help Kokoro get through this, but it's just not enough for Kokoro. She just wants out of school. She's too afraid to go back, and she's too afraid to tell her mom about how badly her bullying has gotten. So one day, Kokoro's mirror starts glowing with a magical portal, and she steps inside of it. Kokoro is whisked away into a giant castle surrounded by an ocean. There she meets a mysterious little girl in a wolf mask who calls herself the Wolf Queen. Kokoro tries making a run for it back to her mirror, but the Wolf Queen comically drags her into the castle, as she wants her to hear what she has to say before leaving. So Wolf Queen drags Kokoro into a room with 6 other kids, 4 boys and 2 girls. For some reason, I can never remember the names of the boys in this, but I easily remember the girls' names, Kokoro, Aki, and Fuka. The Wolf Queen announces that she's gathered these kids here to partake in a quest. Inside of this castle is a key that leads into a wishing room. Whoever can find the key and find the room will be granted 1 wish. She says the castle is free for them to explore, and they're free to use special assigned mirrors to go back and forth between their homes and the castle as they please. They have until March 30th to find the key until the passage to this castle is gone forever. There's a catch, though. If someone finds the key and gets their wish granted, all memories of this place will be lost. So they can either continue hanging out at the castle until March and leave with their memories of each other intact, or they can find the key, get a wish granted, and everything will be forgotten. There is only one strict rule to this place. The kids are only allowed to visit between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Anyone who stays beyond 5 p.m. will be eaten by a giant wolf, and everyone who was at the castle that day will get eaten as well. Pretty harsh. And for some reason, she claims that she doesn't make the rules. That's just the way things are. I have no idea why, no explanation, but let's go with it. So, one thing the movie did really well was getting actual teenagers to voice the main characters. It really makes the characters feel authentic, instead of just hiring adults trying way too hard to make cartoony voices. Now, I've heard people even praise the English dub for being better than the Japanese version, where the voices didn't really match the kids well at all in Japanese. Now, not all the kids get fleshed out as well as some of the others, but they were all still pleasant characters to watch. Not a single one of them annoyed me or bothered me, and that's saying a lot because I usually hate kids in shows or movies. I can find them so annoying with how selfish and whiny they are, and so, yeah, it was nice to see a movie where all the kids were pleasant characters. Now, at first, you're thinking these kids are going to be at each other's throats as they're trying to find that key, but luckily, they mostly get along throughout the movie. Some of them start off not too interested in each other at first. They might tease each other at first, but over the course of the film, they all learn that they have a lot in common, and they start being open with each other, and they start trusting each other. They all form a genuine friendship, and they're not focused on finding the keys. They just want to use the castle as an escape and hang out with each other. They all begin to realize that they're all avoiding school due to being bullied. They're all lonely, they're all losers, and they start hanging out with each other. They start gaining the courage to try going back to school. They all agree that if one of them finds the key, they'll just wait until the end of March 30th to use the wish. That way, they can make the most out of just hanging out at the castle. They even agree to look for the key together, and they decide that if someone finds the key, they'll just draw straws, and whoever gets picked gets the wish. Yeah, if only more people could be like that in real life, we'd have a better world. So, anyways, we never learn what all of them would wish for, but we do learn at least like 3 of them what they'd wish for. Kokoro, she just wants to wish for her bully to go away. A boy named Rion wants to bring his older sister back, as he tells Kokoro that his sister died from an illness, and it's heavily implied that it was cancer. So, yeah, I might have failed to mention that, but this movie does have some heavy themes to it, especially towards the end. Now, most of the film feels very PG overall. It's overall a very light film. It's mostly very wholesome, but there is one scene towards the end that automatically gives this movie a PG-13 rating. So later on, we learn about what Aki would wish for, and yeah, more on her later. She's the main reason this movie's PG-13. But, so, on one strange occurrence, Aki arrives all shaken up. She's traumatized, but she brushes it off as everyone asks if she's okay. The kids notice she's wearing her school uniform, and they realize that they all go to the same school as she does. Well, everyone except for Rion, because it's revealed that he's the only one who's not living in Japan, for he's a transfer student in Hawaii right now. But yeah, everyone questions how, if they all go to the same school, how come they've never met each other? So one day, a boy named Musamune, he begs his friends to come to school just for one day to give him emotional support. So as Kokoro visits school to meet up with her friends, she's sad to find out that none of them showed up. She talks to the nurse and brings up the names of all of her new friends, asking if they go to the school. The nurse explains that there are no records of any kids by those names going to the school. So the next time all the kids meet up back at the castle, they're confused over why no one showed up to meet each other, but everyone claims that they were there but no one else was. Musamune comes up with a theory that they're all from different parallel universes, but the Wolf Queen denies this claim. The kids start trying to brainstorm ideas on where the key could be. All they can point to is that they found 6 strange X-shaped markings inside odd locations, like under a cupboard or inside of a bathtub. So time passes closer to March 30th, and Kokoro gets invited to the house of her exchange student friend. Her friend breaks the sad news that she's moving to a different school. She expresses how she stopped hanging out with Kokoro's bully because she was able to see how shallow of a brat she was. Before Kokoro leaves, she notices portraits of famous children's stories, for her friend's dad turns out to be a children's storybook publisher. There's one picture that captures Kokoro's eye, a picture of the story of the Wolf and the 7 Goats. She notices the hiding spots of all the goats resemble the locations of the X marks inside of the castle. Kokoro asks her friend if she can borrow the picture. This movie honestly does get better every time I rewatch it, as I'm able to find hidden details that I missed before. There's a lot of decent foreshadowing. I mean, there's a part earlier in the movie where Kokoro explores her own room inside of the castle. She notices a bunch of fairy tale books on the shelf, and you see her pulling books out to see which titles are available. For a brief moment, she almost pulls out a book that says The Wolf and the 7 Goats, but she quickly ignores it and moves on to the next book. It happens so fast, it's easy to miss. I didn't see it the first time, but I definitely caught it the second time I watched it. So, Kokoro heads back to her mirror. She's excited with wanting to share her discovery with everyone, but she's horrified to find that her mirror is partially shattered. A message appears from her mirror as she can see and hear her friends warning her that Aki ended up breaking the rule. She stayed out past 5, and she got eaten by the wolf. The kids try warning Kokoro about something, but we hear the sounds of the wolf approaching them and cutting them off, as all the other kids got eaten as well. Kokoro manages to squeeze through what's left of her mirror, and she regains entrance into the castle. Admittedly, this part kind of confuses me because it's implied to be past 5 p.m., so the entrance to the mirror should be closed off by now, and shouldn't Kokoro be under attack by the wolf if she entered the castle past its hours of operation? I don't know. Anyways, Kokoro returns and uses the picture of the wolf and the 7 goats to track down the locations of all the X marks. She matches them to the hiding spots of the goats who hid and got eaten by the wolf in the original story. So each time she finds an X, the X's magically absorb into her hand, almost like the Triforce from Ocarina of Time. She finds 6 of them and points out how in the story, the 7th goat hid itself where the wolf could never reach it, high up inside of a clock. Kokoro finds a giant clock hung up on the wall, but she can't reach it. Suddenly, the X's she's collected create a magical staircase of light. This is honestly my favorite part of the movie. I mean, seeing a character walking up a magical set of stairs, that's nothing new. I mean, that's something I've been used to ever since, like, playing Kingdom Hearts, but the way it's handled here is really good, especially with the beautiful music playing in the background. For the most part, the sequence is pretty well animated. It's really smooth for the most part, but it admittedly does look a bit off towards the end. As the steps start disappearing behind Kokoro, she starts running so she can reach the clock before falling. The animation does look a bit off during the last stretch. It looks like she's running fast, but the hand-drawn animation doesn't match up with the speed of the stairs, so it kind of looks like she's running but not getting anywhere. I don't know. Aside from that awkward finish, the scene is overall beautifully done. So Kokoro reaches the clock and finds the key. She walks into the wishing room. The X's she's collected take turns sharing memories of her friends as we see how bad these kids had it back in their own schools or their own lives, and we witness, like, Rion having to witness his sister dying in the hospital. And at this point, some audiences might be able to pick up that Rion's sister was in fact the Wolf Queen all along, as we see how his sister had a dollhouse that matches the look of the castle. Rion's sister also loved reading fairy tales, and of course the Wolf Queen speaks a lot in fairy tales. Like, she refers to all the kids as her Little Red Riding Hoods. She has a wolf mask, which, matches the theme of the wolf and the seven goats. And so, poor Aki probably has the most tragic backstory alongside Rion. So, heads up, this part contains very dark and sensitive subject matter. But we see how she starts off pretty happy. She's got a boyfriend, and she's happy to introduce him to her grandma. But not long after, her beloved grandma dies, and she has to attend her funeral. And then, when walking home from the funeral, we see her mom's boyfriend comes bursting into her room, and he tries sexually assaulting her. Aki breaks free and runs away in fear as she jumps into the mirror back into the castle. Now, this explains why she appeared in the castle that one day all shook up in her school uniform. To make matters worse, we also learn that Aki's boyfriend eventually dumped her for someone else. And here we learn what Aki would have wished for all along, and she would have wished that her mom's boyfriend would die. All this trauma just caused poor Aki to not want to live at home anymore as she runs away and tries staying at the castle. But she broke the rule, and the wolf ate her and the other kids. So Kokoro ends up getting her wish, and she uses her wish to undo Aki's breaking of the rule. As the kids are brought back to life, Aki is too ashamed of herself for what she did, what she put all of her friends through, but the kids pull together, forgive her, and show their love and support for her. The kids end up learning why they weren't able to find each other at each other's schools, and it's because they were pulled from different years. Each of these kids were from 7 years apart. So, only Kokoro and Rion shared the same year, as they're both pulled from the year of 2006. Heck, even one of the kids is from the future, like one of them was from 2027. And so, yeah, that was an interesting twist. I honestly did not see that coming, that they were all from different timelines. So, the kids prepare to say farewell to each other before the castle permanently closes. We get some wholesome farewells. Now, Rion is the last one to leave, but before he does, he confronts the Wolf Queen and reveals how he figured out that she is his big sister. He realizes that the castle they're in is a magical dream that she is able to conjure up before she died. So yeah, it's not really explained how this is possible, but who cares, it's a fairy tale. So he points out how the castle resembles her dollhouse. He points out how she imagined herself as a little girl because that was the last time she was healthy, back when she was 6 or 7. He also explains why the reason why March 30th was the last day they could stay at the castle is because that's the day she died. Once she dies, this dream ends. He also lets her know that if he got his wish, he would have wished for her to be brought back to life. Rion begs his sister if there's any way he can leave this place without losing his memories. He doesn't want his memories of her to go away. Wolf Queen says that she'll see what she can do as she finally takes off her mask and gives her little brother a farewell smile. So we cut to Kokoro meeting up with her new teacher again, as her teacher promises Kokoro that she'll be fine, and we suddenly realize that Kokoro's teacher was in fact Aki this whole time, all grown up 7 years after the events from the castle. As Kokoro heads back to school, we see that Rion was transferred from Hawaii to Kokoro's school, and he's looking for her. Rion still remembers Kokoro, but her memories of him and the castle are gone. So Rion offers to walk her to school, and they head off. During the credits, we get a really good song called Merry Go Round. So while the film does have a few plot holes, and some might find the film a little confusing or not well explained at times, I still found the film very fun, very wholesome. It's just a good mystery. As one who was horribly bullied at school, and I still feel misunderstood everywhere I go, I really relate with every single kid in this movie. I loved seeing these kids realizing they're not alone. I loved seeing them spend time with each other, work together. It honestly made me sad that they had to say goodbye in the end, and that how they all forgot each other. Despite such a sad ending, I still left the movie with a big smile on my face, especially after seeing how Aki's tragic life turned around, and how she's able to use her tragic experiences to help other kids who are struggling just like she was. It's a very poetic ending. So this has got to be the most underrated anime film I've ever seen. Not the best, mind you, but still very good. It doesn't deserve the harsh criticism it got on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a shame that not enough people talk about this film. From what I've heard, it's a very faithful adaptation to the book it's based on. I've never heard a single fan of this book complain about it. I've even heard some go as far as to say this was a perfect adaptation. I feel like maybe this would have worked better off as a TV series, though. Because, I like these characters so much, I wish we could have saw more of them fleshed out, have more days of them hanging out at the castle, and maybe someday this book can get readapted into another anime, maybe a TV show that goes on a little longer. That would be kind of cool. As long as they don't drag it on too long, like, it's got to end at some point, but I wouldn't mind seeing more of these characters, seeing what the story wasn't able to tell. Because there are so many days that they spent, and obviously not all of them could have fit into the book or the movie it's based on. But I give Lonely Castle in the Mirror an 8 out of 10. That's all I have to show for now. Thank you for watching, see you next time, and have a great day.